Okay, Sam's sitting back, that's why.
Call meeting to order. Will you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. All right. Starting with the resolution form. Resolutions.
Yes. I think.
To approve resolutions, President?
Can we? Yeah, I think you have to name each one of them itemized.
Okay, number 1 and 2.
I think they've got, do they need to be read out?
We have changes to,
I'm sorry.
we have changes to number 2.
Okay, so for now, we just.
Oh, no, not, I'm sorry, never mind, not the resolution, the ordinance, sorry.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Sorry.
Any discussion?
It's a little discussion.
Sure, go ahead.
So I had my concerns about the League of Cities and Towns legislative priorities, but I understand that they have no intention of going for tax cap exemption at this point. So I'm in support of this resolution.
Any other discussion?
And, Mr. President, number 2, going out to, the limited obligation bond is Ms. Kenny is the president, Ms. Kenny, is the town like co-signing for that if the water system cannot pay the bill? Does the town of Richmond then have to kick in and pay the obligation just in case?
No, it's not a general obligation. That is why we are going with the water ordinance change further on in the agenda.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Good to.
Mr. President, move to open public hearing.
I was gonna just get attention before you, you know, what we're supposed to.
Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is open. We have here a discussion and consideration of proposed amendments to the Richmond Code of Ordinances entitled the Water System. The amendment would add a capital improvement charge of $75. Okay,
I have revisions to the ordinance.
right.
I went back and checked the number of accounts we actually have. And I am recommending the charge be raised to $80. So it would be $20 per quarter because we have 294 accounts. Not the 300 and change that I thought we had. And that the ordinance be revised on line. Well, I'm just going to read the ordinance and then we can go from there. In addition to the connection fee in subsection F above, and in addition to the temporary debt service charge in subsection G1 above, each customer shall pay a capital improvement charge of $80 per year beginning on July 1st, 2024, and continuing each year until the $300,000 revenue bond be issued to be issued in 2024 is paid in full, period. 1/4 of the annual fee will be added to each quarterly water bill. The final year's billing shall be adjusted to account for payment in full of the bond. The fee shall be assessed against each existing customer as of July 1st, 2024, and each new customer added thereafter. So what was taken out is the for 10 years and whichever is sooner, because there is a that just complicated the ordinance.
Okay. I can comment in that I was one of the first houses to go on to the water system. And the amount of money has more than doubled since I've gone onto the water system. We just got out of a meeting upstairs where we were talking about the water system being an economic generator. I know I've been ridiculed for that comment, but it was discussed upstairs when we were talking about affordable housing and everything else. I believe that if at all possible, I'd like to use some of the COVID money towards that. Is that not possible?
So the financial town meeting in July of 2021 was voted, and it was voted to pay the bond with water fund revenue.
Right.
So that was what the vote was.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I don't have any questions anymore because I bothered Laura many times with many questions about whether it was better to kind of have it on a flat rate like this or per use. So I just want to take a second to thank Laura for her time in dealing with me. But other than that, I have no other questions. I think it's a good way for it to go.
Okay. Any further discussion? Anybody on that? Mr. President, motion closed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. President, move to accept the proposed amendments with the recommended revisions from the finance director.
Second.
Any discussion? Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Mr. President.
What's now?
If anybody has something to pull, I'd like to just make a motion to approve consent agenda item 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Move on. Now we have a public forum. It's an opportunity for anyone to get up and speak about something that is not on the agenda. So I invite anybody from the public or online to weigh in. Sir.
I'm Dave Benson from Wyoming, Rhode Island. I just want to say that my comments that I'm making here are not intended to disparage anyone who spoke at the February 6th Town Council meeting. Everybody has their own truth to tell. But that meeting was pretty depressing, with people complaining about increased spending. And it later occurred to me that if Exeter or West Greenwich came to me and asked me to make a commercial about why Richmond is not a good place for economic development, I would just show clips from that meeting. Clearly, no one in Richmond has any disposable income to spend. If I were a business, why would I set up in a town with no money to spend? The fact is that the median household income in Richmond is $104,000 per year, and we rank 10th in Rhode Island. And we should emphasize that when we talk about economic development. Many people in town are doing very well, while others are not. I guess the reason I'm here is I want to ask the town council if you could maybe get creative in your thinking and come up with a modified way to tax people's property. For example, federal and state income is taxed on a progressive basis, so the more you make, the higher your bracket. I'm just wondering if you can do something similar with property taxes. I feel for the people who are having difficulty. I'm in a fortunate position where I'm not having difficulty paying taxes or the water bill or whatever. But I'm just asking you to be a little bit more creative in your thinking, maybe, about how we go forward.
I believe the tiered tax system is not legal, but I'd have to defer to Laura for that.
And I don't know about the legalities, I'm just trying to, that was just an
I
example.
had thought about that back when I first got on the council in 2016, and at the time I was told it was not.
Okay, I'm just asking if you can be creative in
Yeah.
the way you deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sure.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Cannavale. I've been a resident of Richmond for about 25 years now. Raised 2 daughters. And we moved down here to have a peaceful life and nice property and so on. But over the past couple of years, we've been having to deal with neighbors and people that are not taking care of their properties. It's becoming a real big issue, not just in my neighborhood, not just next door to me, but throughout Richmond. I drive around and I see junk cars, dumpsters, trash strewn everywhere. For the past 2 years, I've been picking up trash that blows into my yard, junk cars, junk truck parked in the backyard, so on and so forth. Color of the house, 3 different colors, gutters hanging off. And I just think it's unfair that people like myself, and there's plenty of us in Richmond, plant flowers, clean our yards, keep everything up to par, pay our taxes. And yet these individuals are allowed to just do whatever they want. You know I own a piece of property and I can put the music on, I can walk around my yard, do whatever I want to a certain degree. But there's laws. I have to respect what my neighbors are doing, people down the road. I can't just do whatever I want, even though you're a homeowner. You can't. You just can't run amok. There should be some respect. I know for a fact if you moved into Dean Estates or Wood Estates in Coventry, Cranston area, this would not be tolerated. You can't even put a fence up in those areas unless it goes through town council or the associations. I'm not saying I want that. I like the freedom of being able to do what you like on your property. We don't need laws like that. But there has to be something that can be done to stop people from just piling up trash. I appreciate anything that you can do about it, look into it and be a little more forceful in the town, keep our town beautiful and clean and respectful. So the next generation will come in and buy my house and be proud to live in it and not look at the house next door and say, I don't want to live there, or do exactly what that guy is doing. Because the only person that's going to buy my house when I go to retire or pass on is another individual like him. People like me will never buy my house. Because I wouldn't want to, I don't even want to live here, to be honest with you. So appreciate your time. You can discuss it amongst yourselves. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir,
Would you like me to speak to that?
yes.
Sir, our building planning and zoning department is actually very proactive with that, and if they get a complaint, they will send the building official out. So if you have a specific address, we'd love to hear it.
So Karen, I didn't even know you were sitting there. You did help me out and I did
Okay.
appreciate it. I've been in contact with you once, I believe.
Okay.
You did send the building inspector out. Very much appreciated. Just so you know the background, he went out there, swept the driveway, put a couple of boards away, and he's satisfied maybe, just a quick glimpse, so he's organized it. And then it went back tenfold. They just go. He's a defiant person. And those individuals are usually defiant anyway. They're not going to be told what to do.
Right.
So that's an issue in itself.
At the risk of getting into an agenda item that we're going to discuss later, we're talking about a municipal court, which would make us being able to deal with those situations much easier.
Right. I appreciate
Sure
it. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Anyone online or any other person in the room interested in? Okay, that being said, I'm going to close the public forum and move on to reports and invite Karen to stand back up again.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item I have, very excited to recommend Bob Doucette for promotion to superintendent in our DPW. We hired Bob back in 2015. He does live here in Richmond. He's been doing a great job in his current position as truck driver laborer too. He also is, outside our other superintendent, has the most seniority in the department. And he's also, our director's recommendation for, superintendent to replace Gary.
That's
Awesome.
yes.
Motion to approve the hiring of Robert Duquette.
Second.
All those in, any,
Yes.
Mr. Doucette, are you from East Greenwich?
Yes.
Yeah, we grew up together.
Oh, wow.
Small
world.
So that being said, is there any further discussion or how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome.
Second item I have is a request for the council to designate 25,000 of ARPA funding for a sign out front. And I'm not sure if you remember, but a little while ago, the public works had to take down the stone wall and the ramp that was out there. Previously, actually, there were bushes that were covering that stone wall, but there was a lettering on there that said Richmond Town Hall. So we've essentially had no sign for years and years at this point, between either being obscured or having to have been taken down. So what I would like to do is get a wooden sign similar. I don't know if you can all picture the sign at the Richmond Police Station, but it's two granite posts, a wooden sign. And then I would like to add, a small LED display so that we could have a lot more professional advertisement, so to speak, of our town events, more so than that sandwich board that we put out there that's hard to read. And then it would require lighting, electrical, that kind of thing. So there's several little kind of pieces to this that would all be separate purchases, but I think the 25,000 hopefully will cover what we need.
Mr. President, move to approve the request to utilize opera funds for a new town hall sign.
So I wonder,
Yes.
Second discussion.
Well, yeah,
okay,
you second.
Karen, if we're gonna put up a sign, I'd rather it be like outside Richmond Elementary. It's a good size sign.
Mhm.
I'd like to see a good size, but also only 19 inches.
No, 19 inches high. It'd be as wide as the granite post.
Okay, good. I'm thinking,
But only
what is
19. I just don't want a big gaudy thing.
Okay, it's 19 inches this
We
way.
don't want to
Exactly.
outdo the preserve.
That's the wooden part, and then the LED would be below it,
Okay.
19 inches high, but as wide as the granite
Okay.
post.
I thought, okay, 19 inches.
You're not gonna be able to read that.
Okay,
Yes.
So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
If there's no further discussion, I'd like to vote. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for
Thank you. Yeah. And the last thing I have is a DPW truck. It's a 40,000 vehicle weight truck. It's got a steel dump body, a plow, and a sand spreader. I received the specs from Gary, our director. We did receive 4 bids. The low bidder is a company called Freightliner of Hartford with a bid of $206,551. And we do have funding in the capital budget for that.
Is that entirely paid for by grants?
It's capital money. It's not grant money.
Mr. President,
Yes.
motion to award the DPW truck bid to Brightmeyer of Hartford.
All those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh.
So this wasn't budgeted in the DPW budget for this fiscal year? It is?
It is. So it is part of the capital transfer from the general fund to the capital fund. Within the capital fund is a project for vehicle replacement for DPW. Originally, we had thought that we would get a street sweeper, but those are cost prohibitive. Thank you. Right now, so we went to the next piece of equipment that they were looking to get and we've swapped it, but the funds are there.
So they're retiring a truck.
Gary, you're gonna actually, we're not trading anything in at this
No.
point, right?
No, not at all.
An additional truck. We'll keep the other one on the road until,
Keep alive until they die.
They're pretty good at keeping them alive. as long as they-
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
Chief?
So. Evening, everybody. Like a 5-minute walk, and they didn't want to step on your toes. I just have one thing I wanted to share, and it was a crash that occurred on probably the worst section of road that we have in town as far as volume of traffic, speed of traffic, and the number of intersecting roadways we have in front of town hall and over by the Richmond Elementary School. I bring it up for a couple of reasons. Number one, it underscores the importance of DUI enforcement. And I've said this so many times, it's almost a broken record, but good people make bad decisions. Good people drive while intoxicated. They don't intend to hurt people, but you have to be blind not to see what the potential outcomes are. This particular day was a Saturday afternoon, February 10th, 4 p.m. We get a call of a crash. Officers respond. And again, the other reason I want to bring this up, body-worn cameras are great equipment for police officers. We are part of a grant, a statewide grant-funded body-worn camera program that came from the federal government. It's administered by the DG's office. Looking at the video camera or the body-worn camera video that the officer had on that day, does everything right, gets to the scene, he's trying to calm. What happened was a westbound vehicle coming down the hill, heading towards that curve that bears right, failed to negotiate that curve. Vehicle traveling eastbound, a woman from West Warwick, in a much smaller vehicle. He was in a Ford Explorer. She was in a small sedan. I think it was a Saturn. He crosses both lanes, both double wheel ones completely and hits her head on. I want you to imagine this because accidents happen spontaneously. Most of us cannot foresee when someone is going to come over that center line. The speed of the two vehicles going towards one another reduces your reaction time. So obviously she was traumatized. Fortunately, she suffered minor injuries, complaints of pain. She was transported by the rescue. But the officer, first checked on her because she was clearly rattled and she was the first vehicle he came upon. He crosses the street to talk to the other vehicle operator that crossed the center of the lines. And he asked him what happened. His immediate response, now it's impossible to record all information by memory. I mean, I have a hard time remembering what I said 10 minutes ago. You're trying to remember a person you never spoke to before, everything they're volunteering at that time, why you're managing traffic direction, crossing the street to talk to somebody, navigating the scene, trying to figure out where the evidence is. This guy spontaneously says, yeah, I was looking down at my phone, I was looking for an address. So he took his eyes off the road as he's approaching the most dangerous curve I think we have on 138 in our town, and struck this woman head on. And then he ended up being intoxicated. He refused a breathalyzer. He failed the standard field sobriety test at the scene. But it goes towards great police work by Ryan Donahue, Sergeant Lettieri, who assisted him at the scene. We had the fire department there, great seamless partner with mutual aid. Good people make bad decisions. I encourage people in the public, please don't get behind the wheel when you drink. Don't be distracted. It's easy to say, I'm just gonna look real quick at my phone, look at a text, send this thing, I hear my phone going off. I don't want them to wait 5 minutes for me to get where I'm going. That's how these things happen. So I have.
Thank you.
I would like to add one thing, if I could.
Yeah.
Town solicitor Zangara just assisted us on an issue that's been a problem. It's a vacant property in town. Without getting into the particulars, he was very responsive, timely, very professional. His expertise is obvious. He ended up going into Superior Court on behalf of the town to address an issue that has been addressed. I wanted to thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
It's great news. moving on to appointments and resignations. And first is a discussion and consideration of appointments for the Richmond, Rhode Island 250th Commission. Now, in my, I wanted to be part of this commission too. I don't know if I can put on the list and vote it on tonight, or if I have to wait, and yeah,
I think it's gotta be noticed.
yes, all right, well,
There's more spots available, I think.
that being said, we have some great people, so,
Mr. President,
yes.
I'd like to approve David Johnson, Victoria Volner, Samantha Wilcox, and Pat Pouliot for the Richmond 250th Commission.
Second.
Okay, any discussion at all?
The only question I have, it's just parliamentary, it's being a border commission, I thought council people weren't allowed to be appointed to a border commission if it's in a voting nature. I know like a liaison, we could pay.
I can answer
I just
that.
clarify, I would like the solicitor to answer that, please.
Yeah, off the top of my head, also, I'll definitely.
I can answer that, Mr. President.
Yes.
So our resolution that we as a council created established the commission, which asked for a representative from town council to be on this board. We also asked for somebody from the Historical Society, Rec Commission is still open, and School Committee, which maybe that's why Pat applied. So that's where I thought, when I was looking at it, okay, we need a council representative, I'll step up.
Well, Mr. President, I'd still like the solicitor to clarify whether or not, a town council person could be on a commission with voting powers. And if the solicitor says it's okay, I have no problem with it.
I'm sure you have voting
Doing a great
powers.
job.
There is no.
Yeah,
This is just a group of volunteers to get the 250th celebration.
I have the resolution I can share right now. Yeah.
There's no,
Yeah, one member shall represent Richmond Town Council, representative voted by the town council.
And there's 7 board members, so if anybody else wants to join, call.
like I said, I want to join.
Well, I don't think,
Resolution.
yeah, so I don't think that limits you because it has 7 board members, but only 4 were specified specifically.
Okay, yes, I'm sure you're doing a great job on the commission, so I just wanted clarification, that's all.
Based on that, I would say yes. Thanks, sir.
So how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Discussion and consideration of Victoria Vaughn request for renewal to the Dog Park Committee with a term expiring January 31st, 2026.
Mr. President, move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I can do. Rock on.
Discussion and consideration. So this particular item in part of the requirements are that there be 5 people submitted. Did you have a list?
Well, I spoke with Erin and she said it's gonna get pushed to the 19th.
Right.
So I have till the 13th to provide 4 additional names.
Mr. President. Motion to move this to the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Mo.
President.
Yes.
Motion to approve the application of random disposal for renewal of refuse collection and hauling license.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. President, move to approve the detective license application of Brian Baker, subject to his licensing fee.
See here today.
I'll second for discussion.
Is Brian here?
Oh, do you want to stay incognito? Because
Is this a renewal?
Well,
We had-
technically, no. because his previous license expired, but he's held this license for a long time, so I think you could treat it like a renewal.
That
Yeah.
being said, I think we're good.
Yep.
I,
Aye.
I,
Business. Request for Counselor Wilcox for discussion and consideration of establishing a municipal court. Memorandum of Sean Lacy, former town planner, dated August 23rd, 2022. Samantha?
I don't know, I think, I included, for anybody who's just reading the agenda, not the materials, I did include a memo that Sean had created, as well as referencing the special meeting that was held right before this council took our seats. And I thought that that was just a lot of valuable information, to kind of know the background of why it's great and why it's something that should be discussed and considered. Even the person who spoke in public forum was a prime example of why this was recommended by staff, looked into by the prior council. They ended up deciding that because it was so close to election, that they would let us decide. But timing is such where it's coming to the table now. So if you have any questions, I guess we can open discussion.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I remember that discussion also. And the question with having, our own municipal court here is what would be the advantage? But the town lawyer we had before said it would not generate any additional income for the town. And in the end, we decided that it wasn't worth it for us to do that. Do we want a municipal court so that we can get people to clean up their yards? Is that what we're doing?
I know back in 2018, when I was on the council, we voted it down because we felt it would just add more work for certain town employees and cost us money.
Right. Mr. President.
Yes.
Town staff is on board with it. And I think that shows when you watch the special meeting from last time, when Sean was very vocal about it. It's not necessarily a money maker, but it is something that will help us enforce the rules that we have. Because sometimes you have a rule, somebody breaks it. All right, well, what now? Nothing happens. So that's really the main purpose of this. It can be a revenue generator, but not even like, it'll be like a drop in the bucket. Like it wouldn't make a meaningful impact if it was. I didn't know it was discussed in prior councils, to be honest with you, but I did look into what we currently have and who's currently here. And those people are on board, the staff is on board, and I think that we've heard from the public a little bit. I mean, really the next steps will be to create the ordinances and go to a public hearing, so we'll have the opportunity to hear from the public further. I think it would be a valuable tool in our staff's tool belt.
Mr. President, in terms of revenue generating, my big concern is, one of the gentlemen mentioned it that spoke earlier, public forum, that, you know, there are a lot of people that, are having a hard time paying their bills and whatnot. They're not as fortunate as he is. So with that being said, you know, when we look at the amount of money we're gonna have to generate to make this self-sufficient, I think it could end up, for lack of better words, weaponizing the system in order to generate enough money to make it viable, to keep it running. I would hate to see that. If that doesn't happen, then we have to go every single year and put money into the budget in order to run this department. And I think with all these questionable things about these new buildings with schools and whatnot, I would really, I'd really be, you know what I mean, concerned about adding something else to the budget that people would have to pay off their homes. And again, like the gentleman said, we have to come up with another innovative way to kind of maybe pay our taxes other than off our home. And I just feel for the people that are already having a hard time. You know, when they look at their tax bill, the tax bill is due the 7th. They sit down, they write the check out. And I talked to a few people and they said, it's getting harder and harder to write this check out.
Mr. President, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
This is, we were going to implement this as a trial basis to see what was the success or the failure of this. And Sean Lacey had spoken very clearly about the amount of infractions that are not imposable by us because we don't have a municipal court. There's plenty of things that have happened that they get sent up to Kent County and they kind of stay there and die. We here in our town can be in control of those things and hold people accountable for the laws that they're breaking. We have the laws, they're on the books, but there's no need for us to ignore them and just, don't worry about it, forget about it, turn a blind eye to it. The chief of police has stated that a fair amount of money, and I can't remember the dollar amount, that goes to the state for every ticket that they write. That's income that actually would stay in town. The town of, which one was this? Hopkinton, they don't make a ton of money, but they make probably $10,000 a year and have been able to justify having a municipal court because there are land users and business owners who do break the law. And you know what? It's not illegal until you get caught. And when you get caught, then you have to pay because you've broken the law. And I think that this is to be used as a trial to see if it's worthwhile. Doesn't hurt to try. And Sean had already told us that there's plenty of opportunity for us for this to be successful. Instead of just kicking the can down the road and letting people do whatever they want to do and make other people's lives miserable, even though they're paying their taxes. I think it's a good thing. If you have a problem, then maybe there's a problem.
So I was going to put our solicitor on the spot and ask your opinion on that.
Can I just respond to what he had said, just to offer a little bit of clarity? What was proposed in August 2022 did not include police. So those tickets would still go where they currently go, but that would be like once that court for zoning is established, we could then bring the police here, and if that's something they want to do. Hopkinton does also use theirs for traffic tickets, so there is a little bit of difference there. But thanks for bringing that up. That's all. I wanted to clarify what you said.
Well, thank you.
I wanted to,
Because a lot of things have been discussed. And I agree with Councilor Colasante that if you putting in a municipal court, just as a revenue generator, we're gonna make money on this. There's a chance for abuse, absolutely. But also on the other side of that is there's a real opportunity to be somewhat revenue neutral. Okay? You can be revenue neutral, so it's not costing you anything, but there's a great benefit to the townspeople in this regard. If you receive a speeding ticket from the police, then you have to go to the RITT, you have to go to Cranston, and they're open from 9 to 4, take time out of work. You have a municipal court, you can come at 6 o'clock at night right here in Richmond. Don't take out any time from work. Go right here, don't have to travel, no traffic. That's a real benefit, just convenience wise. The other thing is, and I don't know what the percentage is, but it's probably pretty significant. So if you give a speeding 1 to 10 over, it's $95 plus court costs. All that money goes to the state RIT. Right?
Yes.
You're getting what about? Are you getting half?
Yeah, I think it's, well, so it's, my recollection is it was $2 and $2 was split. And that was an example that RITT used on, and then court costs associated with that.
That goes, and that all goes to RIT.
It doesn't change a lot, but it does change, it's, as you said, the convenience for the citizen to be able to appear here or appear by mail. Court costs go to the town versus going to the state. I can tell you that my recollection, if I may, Charlestown and Hopkinton, we look at those examples because they already exist. their operational costs were always less than the revenue they ultimately generated. And I don't believe their intent was to generate revenue, it was to create this function. And the cost just offset. And I'll give you an example. 2017, Charles Downs Court had expenditures of $6,408. Revenue side was $22,606. That same year in Hopkinton, cost was, I believe, 14,000 and change. That's the budget, excuse me. The year before for Hopkinton was 15,000 and change to run. Revenue was $47,094. So it was self-sustaining. And again, the research that we did was to present the council, and council did not want to move to a municipal court at that time, but the information's there.
So I think the point being, you can issue the same amount of tickets you're issuing now, be revenue neutral or somewhat in the black, and have a municipal court that's really convenient for the citizen. The other part, that's on the ticket side. On the housing side, there's a bigger advantage, which is there's a savings in that you have local access at your local municipal court judge. You don't have a filing fee of $187.50 in the Superior Court. That's just a filing. You don't have service by a constable. That's $55 more. That's out of pocket. That's not a ton of money. But you have to pay me, go to Washington County Superior Court, and I wait. And housing code violations at the Superior Court, obviously they take them seriously and they hear you. They're going to give you a fair shake, but you're lower on the list. If there's someone coming in from the ACI, they come first. If there's a plea bargain that has to be taken, they're coming first. If there's a trial that's in front of you, that's going first, and you're waiting. So you can spend a lot of time where I'm there, or whoever's the solicitor in the future is waiting for the court, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you're paying for them. In municipal court, you're not going to have that wait. So there's an advantage there. The other advantage is you have some control over the things that you stress, right? So when Josh Jordan comes down, he's got something, he can get it addressed quickly. And you can maybe address that trash in the neighbor's yard, or that 3 unregistered vehicles when you're only allowed to have 2. That's just an example. And you can increase potentially the quality of life in town by enforcing your ordinances more robustly, so that you don't have the situation that gentleman was talking about, where he's got his neighbor who's not really maintaining his property, but not only not maintaining, he's violating the ordinance. So you get to a point where if you really get ordinance, and I've done this ordinance violation 28 years. So I've seen how it works, how it doesn't work too. If you can handle it on a municipal court level, they do it in Cranston. I do ordinance violations in Cranston. I prosecute it for the city. I do them in Narragansett. It works really well. We get quick action, we get decisive action. And from my point of view as a solicitor, it makes my job easier. Therefore, I can give you better service. I think it benefits your townspeople because they get faster service and result. By the way, municipal court judge, if you don't like the way cases are being disposed of, if you think that person's you can replace that person. With the state house, you can do it. You pick the municipal court judge, right? You determine what that person gets for salary. In Narragansett, for example, the municipal court judge determines the calendar. We've got a lot going on, maybe twice that month. Things are slow, maybe it's once that month. Maybe it's once in 5 weeks. So, how you pay that person, how that person schedules it, you have a lot of control. Don't have that go to the Superior Court, go to the district court. So there are advantages, there are potential disadvantages and potential abuses, to be sure. I would hate to see an abuse like that happen. That would be wrong on so many levels. But there is some opportunity there for the town, something you're considering trying. Be worthwhile. I think you'll find the Hopkinton ordinance almost mirrors the Cranston ordinance, which practically mirrors the Narragansett. There seems to be 2 pages of municipal court that kind of everybody uses. You don't really have to reinvent the wheel. It's out there for you, the language. It's been tested, it works. Obviously, whatever decision you make will be the right decision for the town, but, if you're going to do it, from the, from selfish point of view, from my point of view, it makes it easier for your solicitor. So that's a consideration. And you can obviously, the other things I said, in my opinion, doesn't change on that. Like I told you before, I'm a proponent of it. That doesn't mean we have to have it, or you have to vote yes. Well, do what you think is right.
I myself was kind of I was in the mid, I didn't have a definitive opinion either way, and now I do. I would like to modify it so that the proposal, so that we include the traffic tickets as well. And, I would like to vote on, it. So.
So I'll make a motion to ask our town solicitor to draft an ordinance establishing a municipal court, which may be copy paste, how about that?
To include traffic violations. I'd second that.
Awesome. Any further discussion?
May I
Sure.
suggest that along with this would be a recommendation to staff for some budget, both on a revenue and an expense side, because I am currently doing the fiscal year 25 budget. And if we need to put in a new division or department or increase a different department's budget to accommodate this, I would like to do such. So, and adding in the traffic portion of this, I believe would increase clerical staff. So I would really like the time to study what the costs may be. Even if there's no revenue, we are going to need a budget for the expense side.
Can we modify that?
Right, I just wanted.
It'd just be a
So that's
second
where-
recommendation.
That's where we would establish the fees, and based off what you funded with budget, we would then make our fees for the fines accordingly, right? It's kind of like working at the same time.
But an ordinance is one thing. If we haven't
Right, right.
studied it, we can't.
You can't include it in the ordinance yet. Gotcha.
I think what you may find is it's the traffic is what's going to generate the revenue, not so much the housing. Right, housing, what you want compliance. You just say, look, fix your stuff up. They're not looking for money. Most towns aren't. It's not the fines they want. They would just want compliance. On the tickets, there's less discretion. You buy it, if you're speeding, there's the fine. So that's going to be more the revenue side of the traffic. That tends to be the case, not fines for housing.
Right, but it's also, on the other side of that, it is also more expensive because of the clerical duties responsible to report to the state.
There's more volume.
If the idea of it, it's okay, but like the solicitor said, the generating part is gonna be the police end of it. And again, I don't wanna get phone calls, and chief, I know you won't do this, but it's like the tongue in cheek is, guys, we gotta tag people because revenue is down and we're in the red this month and we have to generate some tickets.
We're not gonna
Can't imagine.
We're not gonna change enforcement behaviors, but I understand that,
Yeah.
the transparency part of it, right? You see a spike because somebody's trying to buy a new police cruiser, or listen, we enforce the law fairly. Officers, I'm not telling you guys when to write things. Exercise discretion, you have that ability. If you have a person you stop, they've been warned 3 other times in the last year, and warnings aren't changing the behavior, write that ticket. The ticket may or may not change the behavior, but the warnings are done. Sometimes it's one warning, sometimes it's none. It depends on attitude of the motorist, attendant circumstances, egregiousness of the violation, all those things. They're not gonna change the way that they write tickets now because a municipal court may or may not be to fruition.
Chief, the reason why I say this too is I've got 3 members of my family that are in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And it's tough as it is right now with what's going on out there, attitude towards law enforcement. I'm just saying, just to protect you, like I would protect, like my relatives all right, who are in law enforcement, that, you know, you don't need that extra perception of, you know, having to cover the cost. Because last month we were in the black, so this month we have to be in the red kind of deal, and then they see a spike in ticket, you know, generating revenue. That's only,
I appreciate the concern and the perception issues. We've been dealing with perception issues for a while. I gotta be honest with you, there are people that will react by, I pay your salary, my taxes, I pay your salary. You know, we've heard that over 35, 37 years. Very few people actually say that at the time they stop. Most people are remorseful for what they've done. And the officer may exercise discretion. They got him at 87 miles an hour on the highway, but the officer observed that person, bring the vehicle to a stop, they run him for the lower speed. I witnessed you violate all of these disparities in speed, and I chose to give you 10 over the limit versus the full amount. Because I saw you going 10 over the limit, I just chose not to write you for 87 miles an hour. There's that balance of enforcement and discretion in trying to influence the behavior of the motorists down the road. But I appreciate what you're saying, and frankly, I have complete faith in our personnel to uphold the law, do the right thing, and not try to fill coffers or the idea that we're trying to generate revenue by writing more tickets. It's just not what I see happening. And frankly, as I think Mr. Zangari said, if this is a trial opportunity and you run it for a year and you determine this really isn't working out for us, you have the ability to, abolish it. But what I remember from Sean, and this really struck home for me, in the planning, building, zoning world, scheduling things in court, the proximity of, we're pretty good distance from court in Rhode Island terms, right? Trying to get anything heard on a particular date when people need their attorneys there, they show up without their attorney. Now they have to reschedule. Months are going by. Violations are persisting. The status isn't changing on that property. Having a local venue where familiar faces and people are tracking things in their own community, I think there's a lot to be said for that in the work that you do and the work that Sean did. There's more teeth to this building zoning, not that you're looking to fight somebody, but the reality is scheduling, just trying to be more efficient, get things done in a more timely manner so people's projects aren't delayed. If that makes sense. I saw the benefit from what Sean explained at the meeting that we had for what they do upstairs.
President,
Yes.
I can attest to the police. I did my ride along with Bill. And we probably pulled over more than a half a dozen people. One person had a car full of college girls, and I won't forget it. I looked at the radar, it was 63, and we were in front of Dunkin' Donuts, right on 138. I go, did you see that? And he goes, no, I was looking over here at something else. And I go, 63. He whipped around, pulled her over. She had 8 people in a car that should have had 5. He gave her a ticket. He told her, get back to URI, drop somebody off, or have somebody come and pick somebody else up. And off we went. The 5 other people, other than the one person that was high on methadone and crack, everybody else got let go. And they were all speeding. They were swerving. One girl was eating her dinner while she was going to work. These guys are professional. They are not here to make the budget. They're there to protect us, and they do an amazing job. And to say anything otherwise, quite honestly, is an insult to our officers that protect us and do an amazing job. These guys are outstanding. And
I appreciate that. I also appreciate your point of view and guarding against perceptions. They look out, they're trying to raise taxes or whatever.
well, Chief, you understood what I was saying. I
get
wasn't saying your men were gonna do it. I was just saying that I have 3 members of my family that are in law enforcement that deal with this.
Let's rein this in. Okay.
President, I'd like to make a motion.
Point of order, there's a
to approve this.
motion on the floor. My motion was, I think you seconded it, to ask our solicitor to draft it, but we want to change that, right?
No, you can have a
The
second.
second motion, so I'll do a second motion after this motion. All right, thank you.
Okay, so we have the motion on the floor.
Draft.
I'd like to pull
with
The motion.
traffic included,
Yeah,
the solicitor draft with traffic included.
So I'd like to take vote. How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Mr. President,
Yes.
motion to ask our finance director to prepare a budget surrounding this. Is that what you were asking?
Over to staff report.
Or staff report. Thank you.
Second.
Further discussion? How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Okay. Mr.
Not
President.
that I will give myself one.
Mr. President, yes, commissions, communications, petitions, proclamations, motion filed.
Second.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
real quick, I just want to take one quick second of everyone's time to just recognize the notice of non-renewal for Gail Fisher from the dog park committee. She's been on that dog park since it literally started, maybe even beforehand. Wonderful volunteer who like maintained the unofficial park, but it's sad to see her go, but, just wanted to recognize all the hard work she did over the past probably 15 years for our town.
Yeah.
Thank you.
President, move to adjourn.
Gotta go on that first.
We get a vote on the communications and petitions. So how do you vote?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Okay, Mr. President, we'll adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 There you go.